Good evening. I hope everybody had a decent weekend. Um, First off, I don't know that there'd be anything that anybody would want. We really don't have much of anything over there, but I just wanted to remind people that the website in 10 days will be gone. So just don't have the money to pay for the servers. So just it is what it is. The good thing is, like I said the other day, I will lose the dirtcheappreps.com domain. I'll lose that. No big deal. I never did anything with it. But I will still have the watchmannews.com, the domain, at least for now. It just won't be going anywhere. So if you go there to come up, no website to come up. So no big deal. As far as the future, I have no idea. I can't guarantee the future of anything right now. I don't know. It all depends if I get another host and if I feel up to building a website for it. Today's not a good day. So just ignore me. I hate today like you wouldn't believe. To be real honest, I just want to get through it, close my eyes, and wake up tomorrow and be done with the day. So that's pretty much where I stand. Like I said, ignore me. It is what it is. It's very frustrating. What really is the salt in the wound is not only do I not get to see my children, but thanks to the BS actions that my ex pulled, I don't even have any of the coffee cups or anything that any of my kids have given me over the years. I don't have any of that. Nothing. Not a one. So it's not a good day for me. It's just nothing but salt in a wound for me. So with that, let me go ahead and just kick on over to the news and get done with it, get it out of the way, and hopefully wake up tomorrow and feel different. UK should be ready to fight in Europe, says Army Chief. This here, and a lot of the headlines that I do have up are related to what's going on over there. It does seem to me that the rhetoric is picking up some, and rhetoric's a good word, but I want to make sure people understand this isn't just banter, okay? I really do think it's getting pretty close over there. Not necessarily for the U.S. to be directly involved right away. I think that a European nation or, a UK nation, I think one of those will get it started first. And I'm not saying one of them will start it. I'm just saying it will start over there first. I think before the U.S. gets involved. I think another country besides the U.S. will definitely be involved before the U.S. And largely I think a lot of that is because the U.S. taking the quote-unquote high road kind of thing. So, anyway, I did watch a good video right before. I wanted to mention this. Right before I came on. There are good channels, folks. Just because I come out and I rail against certain channels, that's because it's well-deserved. I mean, these people know what they're doing. And, like I said in that video, there's a lot of people that just don't say anything. And there are a lot of people that do say something, and they just delete their comments. So, I mean, there is that. So nobody really, for the most part, gets to see a lot of the discontent against some of these channels that they get because they hide it, so you don't see it. There are reasons why I call them narcissists, because they are. But anyway, good channels. Back to that. Prepper Dog did a good video titled The Coming Chaos, and highly recommend that. I like Prepper Dog. He's another one. Laid back, just gives you the information. He's not trying to fearmonger you. He wants you to be knowledgeable. He wants you to be informed, but he's not trying to garner that emotional reaction from you. And that's where my problem is. That's where my problem is, and let me explain why. Because if you approach things in life with an emotional response, you're setting yourself up for failure. You do not want to approach things in life emotionally. Because, number one, anybody else that realizes that you can be controlled through your emotions has the ability to totally control you. That's number one. But number two, when the green flag drops, or the red balloon goes up, or whatever you want to call it, everything goes sideways, what are those emotions going to get you? Probably dead. So these channels may be enjoying what they're doing, getting people to run around like the Pied Piper, seeing how many clicks they can get, how much YouTube revenue they can rake in. But they are actually doing damage to the mindset of preppers, because they are trying to teach them to respond emotionally. Click this, you got to have this, you got to do this, you got to do that. Top 5 things. Right? It's ridiculous. When you really pull it apart and you look at what they're doing, that is how bad it is. And when you call it out, oh, well, he's just jealous. Of what? Most of you barely know how to hit the frickin' record button. What am I jealous of? I rate life a little differently than the average person. I don't consider what kind of car somebody drives, what kind of home they have. I want to know what kind of integrity they have. I want to know what they'll do behind closed doors with nobody watching. Because that is what matters. Not what kind of car they drive, not what kind of paycheck they bring in. How much self-discipline, self-responsibility, self-respect does that human have? That is how I would rate someone. Not by how many subscribers they got, how many millions of views on their channel. None of that matters. Doesn't matter. The only thing that matters is the information that's being given to you. If that's got to be shrouded around emotion to get you to click that link, then I'm sorry, but you ain't got much of a chance anyway. If you have to be that emotionally stimulated, then I don't know what to say. And even the thought that these people want to cater to that audience. Why would you want to cater to a bunch of drama queens? I don't know. Sorry. Bad day. Ignore me. Let me get to the news. Stick with the news and get the hell out of here. Because I will be super ass today. So, my apologies. Anyway, this says British forces must prepare to fight in Europe once again, said the new chief of the General Staff, General Patrick Sanders, according to a Sunday report from Sky News. In a letter to his charges, Sanders, whose first day in the new role was June 13th, claimed that Russia's invasion of Ukraine underlined the UK troops' core purpose to protect the UK by being ready to fight and win wars on land. There is now a burning imperative to forge an army capable of fighting alongside our allies and defeating Russia in battle, the general wrote in his letter, cited across the British media. He stressed that he is taking over his new responsibilities during a new era of insecurity. He also claimed to be the first chief of general staff since 1941 to take command of the army in the shadow of a land war in Europe involving a continental power. We are the generation that must prepare the army to fight in Europe once again, Sanders claimed. His remarks followed a stark warning by the country's Prime Minister Boris Johnson. Writing in the Times on Saturday, the day after his return from Kiev, Johnson claimed, "I am afraid that we need to steel ourselves for a long war as Putin resorts to a campaign of attrition, trying to grind down Ukraine by sheer brutality." Let's see. It says, in Johnson's opinion, everything now depends on whether Ukraine can strengthen its ability to defend its soil faster than Russia can renew its capacity to attack, and therefore the main goal of Kiev's Western supporters to enlist time on Ukraine's side. He outlined the main steps to fulfill this goal. Further weapons supplies, training Ukrainian forces, supporting the viability of the Ukrainian state, developing alternative overland export routes for Ukraine, and getting stocks of grain out of Ukrainian ports. So, again, and what headline was that? Okay, because there's another headline that goes kind of hand in hand with this one. I didn't remember which one I had first. Okay. Howdy, Tracy. West must brace for long war, says UKPM. Welcome back, by the way. Glad you got squared away enough to where you could come and see a show. Sorry I'm not in a better mood. Let's see. Ukraine's allies must brace for a prolonged conflict and do all they can to help Kiev prevail over Moscow, UK Prime Minister Boris Johnson has said. I am afraid that we need to... wait. This is like the same thing. Oh, we're going to be online. That's one thing. I was talking... what I was referring to was our internet. Not our internet. Our web server. I don't even remember. Do you even remember what I told you? I can't even remember. I think it was like 3250 or something. No, 3650. Well, yeah, that's true too. We don't have the money for the internet either, so we may not be on. So, it's a wonderful life, I tell you. Anyway, I think this might be much the same article. I don't know. It started out exactly the same as the other one, so, but this is a different statement. This is saying that they must brace for a long war. So, not looking good. Russia has revealed the use of fifth-generation fighters in Ukraine. This is a pretty big deal, to be honest. Russia's Su-57 fifth-generation stealth air superiority jet fighters have been used in combat missions in Ukraine, Russian Deputy Prime Minister Yuri Borisov has confirmed. The jets had been repeatedly tasked with missions, both individually and part of the squads, Borisov told reporters on the sidelines of the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum on Saturday. He added that the plane's weapons were very effective. Let's see. The first Su-57s joined the Air Force in 2020 and flew bombing missions in Syria. Russian media was first reported the use of the Su-57s in Ukraine in May. In June, the news agency RIA Novosti quoted a source as saying the 4 planes had been deployed to spot and destroy their air defenses. The source said that stealth technology helped the jets avoid radar. Borisov said that Russia had also used a laser weapon in Ukraine, which is capable of destroying drones. The West, meanwhile, continues to send heavy weapons to Ukraine, including HIMARS, multiple rocket launchers, and M777 howitzers. And I have, and I think it might have been yesterday, that article that came out. I'll run past it though when we do headlines. That the United States, I think the headline was something to the effect of they were going to double up the amount of rocket launchers that they're sending. I know they're sending more, and yeah, well, like 3650, I think it was. I'd have to look at the email again. I think 3650 for the server. But I don't know what the internet is. You know what that is. So anyway, I want to say that the statement that was made was doubled up. We'll get to that. But I find it awful interesting that, and I said this was going to happen when they started doing these weapons deals. I said it was going to change dramatically what they sent over, and it indeed has. Not only in amounts, but in the actual types of weapons they're sending. Totally different. Remember, don't forget that this started out with Stingers and Javelins. Okay? Started out with Stingers and Javelins. And it probably even started out before that with something smaller. But then it moved to Stingers and Javelins. And then next thing you know, we're sending them rocket launchers and the actual rockets themselves. I mean, like I say, it's just a matter of time. How heated will everything get? I have no idea. No idea. I really do think we're headed, if not already involved in World War III. But I don't want people to think that I'm trying to fearmonger, and I can't even begin to tell you what that's going to mean for us here. And nobody can. In the previous 2 world wars, not much stateside other than the sacrifices that the American people had to make, not only loss of loved ones, but also the other, the rationing and all that stuff. And of course, Pearl Harbor, that's obvious. But, we really haven't suffered a bunch of loss on U.S. territory, right? You could mention 9/11, but that's really about the extent of it. I do believe, my personal feeling is I think that World War III, before it's all said and done, that the U.S. will suffer damage, casualties, what have you, on U.S. soil. But I couldn't tell you any idea of the extent of that. Nobody can. Just keep getting ready, and don't let people get you emotionally freaked out. I know that's like asking a cat to enjoy a bath, right? But I realize the likelihoods of the different scenarios we're facing. And I get it's intimidating, and I get it's scary for a lot of people. I understand that, and I'm assuming just due to my life experiences that I have an ability to disconnect from this stuff and not let it have that effect on me. Um, Not much affects me, other than my kids. But there's a lot of the stuff that goes on. I really, I'm numb. I'm numb, and it's because of all of that with my kids. I'm just numb. I mean, one person may be scared of all this, and I'm just like, bring it. I mean, I'm not saying that's right, and I'm not saying that's good. I'm not saying, but in some ways, I guess it is helpful. Dozens of Ukrainian officers killed in a missile strike, says Russia. Russian warships have destroyed a Ukrainian command center with Kalibr cruise missiles, killing dozens of officers, Moscow's defense ministry reported on Sunday. I saw this headline and I'm kind of waiting to see where it goes from here. More than 50 generals and officers of the Ukraine armed forces were killed, the statement outlined. The strike took place near the village of Shirokaya Dacha in Dnipropetrovsk region. Sure. Maybe I got the at the end right. It hit a compound where commanders of several Ukrainian units had gathered for a meeting, according to Moscow. The ministry added the Kalibr missiles were also used to destroy 10 M777 howitzers and up to 20 armored vehicles that were recently delivered from the west and had been stored inside a factory building in the southern city of Nikolaev. Meanwhile, the General Staff of Ukrainian Armed Forces reported on Sunday that the country's artillery destroyed several Russian multiple rocket launchers. Russia attacked Ukraine in late... that's just going to go into all the... other stuff, but yeah, I'm kind of, I have a feeling that real quick, something's gonna happen in Russia. I have a feeling that they're gonna reach across the border and touch somebody. EU warned of years of high gas prices ahead. I don't know if they've got any of the equipment whatsoever or not. I don't know if they've got any of the rocket launchers, any of the rockets that they've been promised. So, if they do, I would expect a reply. Let's see. Did I read the headline of this? I don't know. EU warned of years of high gas prices ahead. This here says gas prices in the EU will remain high for several more years, Russia's Vice Premier and former Energy Minister Alexander Novak said on Friday, warning of serious problems across Europe when the autumn-winter period starts. Speaking at the St. Petersburg International Economic Forum, he said that the bloc needs to pump another 40 to 45 billion cubic meters of gas before the beginning of the heating season, an amount equivalent to roughly 4 months' worth of Russian supplies. In 2021, the EU imported 155 BCM of natural gas from Russia, accounting for about 45% of its gas imports and close to 40% of its total gas consumption. Speaking about the current state of the Russian oil and gas industry, Novak said March was the most difficult for the industry, but companies have since adapted to the changes. Now, in speaking on this, I do want to say something. Just an observation that I had. We had gotten our power bill, I guess, like 2-3 days or so ago, and so I had Jen go back and look at the previous year, looked at our consumption, how many kilowatt hours we used, and how much we were charged, because I was trying to get an idea of whether or not our cost of electricity has gone up, because pretty much everybody's cost of electricity has gone up. So that's what I was looking at. And to be honest, the electricity itself really hasn't went up. So, not that I could tell. But the reason why, and I've said this before, we're kind of in somewhat of a unique situation compared to a lot of the towns and cities in Illinois. We actually have our own power plant. They don't use it, but they have it. And because because they have the ability to produce the power for the town, then that means they are a direct competitor. Well, there's laws that says that you have to allow competitors when it comes to utilities, right? And so basically what the city of Highland does is they buy their energy from Ameren in bulk, okay? And then they give us typically a better deal on it than what you would get directly from Ameren, because they buy it in bulk, get a deal on it, and pass that on to the people that live in the town. And so I think that it's because of that ours hasn't changed that much, because they're still locked in to the rate whenever they locked it in. Now, when that changes and they have to sign a new contract with Ameren, I have a feeling it's going to be a doozy then. But I did notice that, and I did want to say that because that was a good thing about this town too. U.S. oil reserves running low, says Bloomberg. This drives me nuts. Washington has been actively selling from its strategic petroleum reserve over the past year to keep energy prices from rising even higher. Bloomberg reported on Friday, noting that the government can't keep tapping the reserves forever. According to the report, over the past year, almost 115 million barrels were released into the market. Those sales have soared to a record high of nearly 1 million barrels per day since mid-May. At the current rate, the United States is selling more barrels from its reserve than the production of the most medium-sized OPEC countries, such as Algeria or Angola. The SPR contains two kinds of crude: medium sour, which is the quality of crude pumped by Russia, the most Middle Eastern countries, in Venezuela, as well as light Swede crude. Bloomberg's analysis of official data showed that 85% of the oil sold from the SPR over the past year has been medium sour. Those sales have reduced the amount of crude inside the reserve dramatically. If Washington sticks to its current pace, the reserves will shrink to a 40-year low of 358 million barrels. I don't know why I said billion. Million barrels by the end of October, when the releases are due to stop. A year ago, the SPR, located in 4 caverns in Texas and Louisiana, reportedly contained 621 million barrels. So, it's crazy. Absolutely insane. Have a sip of coffee. So I hope y'all have been enjoying the memes and stuff like that Biden blessed us with over the weekend. The one is classic, and it's almost prophetic at this point, is it not? The cartoon of the dude that's riding the bike, and he puts a stick in the forks of his own bike, and then blames whatever, right? Blames somebody else. Everybody knows that meme. Almost prophetic, was it not? Wonder if that came from like a hieroglyph or something in the pyramids. Let's see. I got huffed, so apparently that joke was not funny. Cops hesitated. Let's see. Cops hesitated to enter the classroom during mass shooting, says media. Police officers responding to a mass shooting at an elementary school in the town of Uvalde, Texas last month waited 77 minutes before the shooter would stop. and did not attempt to enter the room where the massacre was taking place, despite having keys and the tools to do so, the San Antonio Express-News reported on Saturday. The police response to the shooting has been sharply criticized. And do you see how the news changed? The story changed yet again. This is the first time that I'd heard that they had the keys, and I was under the impression that they had to wait for the keys to get into the door. Now we're being told they had the keys? Salvador Ramos, 18, killed 19 children and 2 adults at Robb Elementary School in Uvalde last month before he was shot dead by a Border Patrol agent, you know, the one that defied orders and went to try to save lives. Yeah, that Border Patrol agent. Amid conflicting stories, the Texas Department of Safety said in the days after the shooting that officers believed Ramos was barricaded inside a classroom and were unable to enter to stop his deadly rampage. Citing law enforcement sources and surveillance camera footage, the San Antonio Express-News claimed that Ramos was able to enter the classroom 111 through an unlocked door and then enter classroom 112 through an internal door, which he could not lock. The footage reportedly shows officers following Ramos into the building within 2 minutes before retreating after the gunman opened fire on them. Pedro Arredondo, a school district police chief, said earlier that he was waiting for tactical gear and a set of school keys and was holding officers back from the classroom in the meantime. However, while Arredondo described trying one key after another on the classroom adjacent to the one in which Ramos was shooting, the San Antonio Express-News said that he was actually trying other nearby classrooms in a bid to locate a master key. A new report claims that his officers had access to a door-breaching tool known as the Halligan all along, while it's unclear whether the door to classroom 111 was even locked, as Arredondo claimed earlier. In total, 77 minutes passed from when police officers entered the school and when an off-duty Border Patrol agent accessed the classroom and shot Ramos dead. DPS and Uvalde city officials have refused to clarify whether the classroom door was locked or unlocked, and the DPS has changed its story several times on whether the exterior door to the school was left open, locked, or failed to lock. Parents who tried to enter the school during this time say the officers outside did nothing to stop the slaughter inside, and say that they themselves were handcuffed by federal marshals when they tried to intervene. Well, you know what? We had a terrible explosion, I think it was in North St. Louis over the weekend. And I could tell by the damage, just the description, without even seeing the video footage, just the description of the damage. I knew that it wasn't something, like gasoline or something. So, go back a little bit. Six men were in a garage. And there was a huge explosion. And, we're talking way bigger than an exploding gas tank or something like that on a car. No, we're talking something more along the lines of a natural gas explosion. Big. Well, it turns out they were trying to manufacture fireworks. That's the news that came out today on it, because 2 gentlemen were arrested with some sort of murder charges. I don't remember the actual charge. For the deaths. 4 people died as a result of that explosion. And so, these 2 men are charged with those deaths. The fact that the cops involved in this are still walking free blows my mind. Furthermore, the fact that the American people are sitting idly by and not demanding. I said it before. This country has reached a point to where the parents will not fight for their children. And I know people will say, oh, bullshit, oh. Show me. Show me. Show me where it's happening. Show me where it's happening. Now, I know, I mean, there are people raising hell, don't get me wrong. But while people are merely raising hell, children are dying, children are getting trafficked, children, it's just, they're getting abused in indescribable ways. And we know some of those that are behind it. Some of those organizations, some of those agencies that are involved. The same ones that are supposed to be protecting the children. We know churches that are involved. So to those parents who say, bullshit, I would, show me. Because I don't see it. Got 19 dead children in Uvalde and a whole damn department allowed to run around freely that just sat there for 77 minutes while children were being murdered. And I guess there's a possibility that the damn door wasn't even locked. And these folks are allowed to walk free. Tell me there's justice. Bitcoin tumbles to 18-month low. This is it's kind of crazy. It is. I will let me bring up Market Watch here. See what it says at this moment in time. Well, it's under 20,000 now. A little earlier it was over. I've been watching it kind of go up, over and under. But it's been bouncing around the 20,000 mark. We'll see. We'll see tomorrow how things shake out. But I have a feeling that things aren't going to go so swell. So just a sneaky suspicion that we're going to tumble. So I think we're going to continue to tumble. I'm not saying a massive crash or anything like that. I do expect at some point we will. But I do think that we're probably going to continue to see the stocks go down. And crypto, I couldn't tell you. You know, glad I didn't invest. Although, at the same time, you know, I wished I would have invested when it was like 50 cents you know, but like others say, you know, if you would have did that, if you would have invested at 50 cents of crypto, right, you wouldn't have waited until 60,000 to sell. No, if you paid 50 cents a piece for Bitcoin, you'd have done had those damn things sold at $100. And that's true. That is absolutely true. That would take some serious, what do they call that, diamond hands? That would take some serious diamond hands, man. Oh, man. Anyway. Bitcoin tumbles. I kind of have a feeling that it is going to continue to tumble along with stocks. Okay, here it says it was down to 17,593. I knew I seen it down to 18 something, so I guess it went a little lower than that. Earlier today, like I say, it was just over 20. Now it's just under. Okay. Oh, yeah, I was going to show that. I forgot. So you know the old question, why did the chicken cross the road? Why did the squirrel cross the street? Because he stole somebody's donut. So I'm sitting here, and I look out the window, and I see a squirrel run across the street, and had something almost as big as it was in its front paws, right? And it's trying to scurry across the street. And he gets just across the street and gets down in the yard, and plain as day, he had a big old donut. So he's sitting there in the front yard eating a donut, so I got a picture of it. Damn squirrels eat better than we do around here. Let's see. We don't have donuts. Let's see. Wait a minute. Oh, I see. I was having a doofus moment. Alright, let's get through some headlines and get out of here for the day. Starting with news from Friday. Baltics won't get NATO division, says Reuters. A warplane crashes in Russian region bordering Ukraine. Israel secretly coordinates Syria airstrikes with the U.S., says Wall Street Journal. Coca-Cola to stop production in Russia. A UK Home Secretary approves extradition of Assange to the U.S. What? Oh, I would imagine just a donation link, right? Let's see. No, I don't know where I was. Okay, well, I'll go ahead and read this. I don't know if I said this one or not. UK Home Secretary approves extradition of Assange to the U.S. I wanted to make sure I said that. I think I did, though. Export is poison for the Russian economy, says Sberbank CEO. A Minsk deal was used to buy time, says former Ukrainian president. USA Today removes 23 articles after probe. Yeah, apparently, I don't know if the author was just making up quotes entirely or just altering quotes or what, but France no longer receiving Russian pipeline gas. McDonald's settles tax evasion case. Our product, our rules, says Gazprom boss. Putin speaks at St. Petersburg International Economic Forum. Ukraine's neighbor accused of extortion. Anti-Russia sanctions hurt everyone, Egyptian Exporters Association says. Putin estimates EU losses from anti-Russia sanctions. And I thought this was a telling statement, previous world order won't return, says Putin. This came out again, this was Friday's news. A Russian president warns of elite change in the West, and that was another statement he made to the same effect. EU Commission officially backs Ukraine as candidate. Russia makes claim on foreign fighters in Ukraine. Pelosi blames inflation on wrong conflict. UK wants to bring Russia to its knees, says Lavrov. Russia outlines economic recovery plan. Lukashenko warns Poland over western Ukraine. Ukraine not worth nuclear war, says former Reagan advisor. China launches its third aircraft carrier. Kiev is relying on military solution for Crimea, says official. But my understanding, Russia only has like one aircraft carrier. I guess. And China has been in a mad dash to get aircraft carriers done. And I just think that's interesting that they're doing that. Now, we have one hell of a naval fleet. No doubt about that. I do think that as far as the waters, as far as the seas and oceans, I think we dominate that hands down. But, I don't know how many battles are going to take place in the open ocean, Let's see. I mean, they're useful, don't get me wrong. They serve their purposes. But my whole point is I think that's why these other nations hasn't really put so much time and money into them, because, well, if you're defending your own, if you're defending your own land, you don't need all that, right? Yeah, you want some subs, some ships and stuff like that to set off your coast, right? But you don't need all that the U.S. has got just to protect the U.S. borders. we went a little overkill on that. Anyway, Kiev is relying on military solution for Crimea, says an official. Sanctions against Russia to remain no matter what, says foreign policy expert. Denmark accuses Russia of gross incident. Moscow identifies cause of global economic woes. EU and US to blame in case of world famine, says Putin. Russian president urges seizing opportunities arising from sanctions. Kiev to impose visa requirement on Russians. Russia doesn't care about the eyes of the West, says Lavrov. UK offers major military training program for Ukraine. Let's see. Putin issues warning to irresponsible Western politicians. I also thought that was a notable headline. Still on Friday. Paratroopers grounded after barracks orgy. Kiev reveals its weapon losses. I reported on that barracks party last week, I believe. Maybe the week before. Angela Merkel reveals her role in the Ukraine conflict. Airline ditches Z logo over Russia. A number of foreign companies conducting business as usual in Russia is revealed. Let's see. And now we are on yesterday's news. Drag Story Hour host under attack, and they dig in their heels, apparently. I forget what the actual, the caption was different, and I can't remember how it was worded, but Taiwan says it has missile that can strike Beijing. And just as a reminder, on yesterday's news, remains of UK journalist found dead in Brazil. Well, if there remains, I guess he would have been dead. I added that in there too. It wasn't even in the headline. U.S. willing to risk economic pain and global hunger to win in Ukraine, says Washington Post. Washington sanctions Chinese and UAE firms. A sale of U.S. combat drones to Ukraine is on hold, says Reuters. EU states forced to use gas reserves. Trump warns of World War III. Let's see. Casualties reported amid attack on Sikh temple in Kabul. No hasty accession for Ukraine, says EU official. Europe is committing energy suicide, says Russian oil chief. 5 injured as Ukrainian ballistic missile intercepted over Donetsk, says DPR. West doesn't want complete defeat of Russia, says a Zelensky aide. China offers lifeline to Russian airlines. Ukraine wants West to stop pushing for unacceptable peace terms. Absolutely necessary to talk to Russia, says German Chancellor. Kiev Conservatory refuses to give up Russian composer's name. British PM warns of Ukraine fatigue. TV crew of popular show arrested at Capitol. That was, oh gosh. I can't remember. Hang on. Steve Colbert was the crew. And who was it? Wasn't it Schiff or something? It appears let him in. I don't know. Stupid. Let's see. Ukraine's top negotiator predicts when peace talks could resume. Russia to help rebuild Donbass, says Trade Minister. Macron names conditions for Russia visit. A Disney employee nabbed in child sex predator sting. And there was a statement, I think, made, and I don't know if it's in here. There was a statement that was made, though. Okay, here it is right here. This is literally what the Sheriff Grady Judge told the media. He said, and I quote, "What would an operation be? Either a pornography investigation or predator operation or human trafficking operation without a Disney employee. We always have a Disney employee." That was a statement said by the county sheriff. Remember what I was saying a while ago about how we know the companies and stuff like that? That is, come on. We know. We're just clearly not upset enough to do anything about it yet. UK's biggest rail strike in 30 years to go ahead. Fossil fuel producers have humanity by the throat, says UN chief. Would be true, and that's basically because people allow it. Just like the other stuff. India's purchases of Russian oil skyrocket, says Reuters. Top Ukrainian official lashes out at Zelensky advisor. Biden falls on bike ride. Again, I know you guys have seen that 500,000 times by now. Ukrainian shelling kills 5, says DPR. A rising cost of living sparks massive protests in the UK and Ireland. Bitcoin drops below 20,000 as crypto sell-off quickens. Blogger claims she is being probed in Germany over Donbass coverage. Trust in media plummeting worldwide as people avoid the news, says Reuters. Ukrainian city bans Russian language. U.S. considers doubling rocket launcher deliveries for Ukraine, says Politico. That's what I thought. I thought I was saying earlier, I thought the headline said double. Man rejected from blood drive over pregnancy question. Yeah, okay, yeah, I've got a comment on this. So dude wouldn't answer the question. She had asked if he was pregnant or had, I guess, recently been pregnant. I don't know if that's what the question is or whatever, right? So it's a guy, right? And so she asked this guy this question, are you pregnant or have you been recently been pregnant? And he refused to answer the question because he's a guy. And they wouldn't they rejected his donation of blood because he wouldn't answer the question of whether or not he was pregnant. So Let's see. Protesters confront congressman over Ukraine aid and Davos title. West moving towards war in space, says Roscosmos chief. And let me have a sip of coffee. We are to today's headlines. Blockade of Russian region in a breach of international law, says Moscow. U.S. oil reserves running low. Oh, I covered that one, sorry. Nearly $100 billion worth of deals signed in St. Petersburg. Western arms could help Ukraine seize Donbass, says NATO. Elon Musk refuses to back down on crypto token. EU's new plan won't save Eurozone from collapsing, says the media. Germany to hoard gas, says media. Russian former president makes grim EU prediction. Ukrainian parliament bans Russian music. German chancellor defends Merkel over Russia's stance. Israel hit by new COVID wave. Kamala Harris is honestly useless, says a U.S. Congresswoman. I concur. UK should be ready to fight in Europe, says an army chief. Oh, I covered that headline. Duh. Russia explains its view of U.S. goals in Ukraine. Major think tank head insults former Russian president. Let's see. U.S. Treasury weighs in on recession prospects. Merch for new U.S. holiday triggers racial controversy. Germany proposes major EU reform. Ireland calls British plan vandalism. Ukrainian mayor worried about growing anti-Russian hatred. Swimming chiefs limit transgender participation. Apple Store unionizes in U.S. first. Macron's party loses parliament majorities, says projections. Texas Republicans declare Biden not legitimately elected. And I'm just reading a headline, YouTube. Just reading a headline. Anyway, speaking of that, that is the headlines. So I am going to sneak out of here. And, I don't know. Again, I'll feel better tomorrow when I wake up and it's not Father's Day. So, I'm going to get out of here and try to make that happen as quickly as possible. God willing, we'll be back tomorrow. I hope to see you then. I appreciate you coming tonight. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.